Hello, welcome to Assembly for today. So today I'm using a really cool book by Vashti Harrison. It's called Little Leaders, Bold Women in Black History. And the reason for using it is because Wednesday this week is International Women's Day, recognizing the contribution that women have made to society, to the world, and recognizing all of the achievements and showing that we know that it doesn't matter whether you identify as a man or a woman, it doesn't matter whether you've got 3 legs or whatever coloured skin, anybody has that potential to make a massive change. Now, I had a good look through the book and I've picked 3 people that I found quite interesting. So I'm going to have to skip to the right page. Let's go to about that one. Not yet. Nearly there. What page are we on? 30. So the people that I've got had careers that started out in other places. And that's the thing that's quite important. And actually what they've done is they've made the most of the opportunities that they had to share what they share their ideas and their thoughts about the world and how the world can be a better place. So the first one that I want to share with you is this lady, Nichelle Nichols. Nichelle Nichols is an actress and singer. Okay, and now when she was young, she got her first acting role when she was 14, and she worked in the theatre for quite a few years. But then in 1966, she got a part in a TV show that wasn't very well known at the time, but became massively famous around the world. And that was Star Trek. And she played the communications officer, Lieutenant Uhura. And she was the first woman of colour in history in a leading role on a primetime TV show. Now, Lieutenant Uhura was brave, smart, dignified, and she was always treated with respect. And those things are really important because that meant that in that role, she became a role model for other women of colour. It really was groundbreaking because in those days, people of colour were usually cast as servants. So in 1968, at the height of the civil rights movement, Nichelle and one of her white castmates made waves when their characters shared a shocking on-screen interracial kiss. And many Americans were angered by the display of integration on national TV. The studio received letters of complaint, and producers responded by cutting Nichelle's lines, making the scene shorter and putting it kind of in the background. And she thought, well, do you know what? These TV producers are not treating me in the right way. I'm going to go back to the stage. I'm going to quit. But she met Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and he managed to change her mind. So Dr. King was a Trekkie, somebody who really loved Star Trek. And we know from other assemblies, from other work that we've done about No Outsiders, that Martin Luther King Jr. was an incredibly influential Black rights activist. And he urged Nichelle to stay on in the show because she was this symbol of hope and inspiration to people of colour across America. And this was absolutely the case. So Dr. Mae Jemison names Nichelle Nichols as her inspiration to join NASA. And she went on to become one of the first African-American women in space. And after Star Trek, Nichelle continued to inspire people, working for NASA, traveling around the United States, recruiting men and women of colour. So one of the reasons for picking Nichelle Nichols today is partly because I really love Star Trek as well. But she started out as an actress. That was her first thing. That was what she wanted to do. And then she used that to promote equality. So she had this gift of acting, and she used that to show other people, you can do this too. You can be inspirational as well. So it's not going out with an agenda and saying, I'm going to change the world by doing this. It's using your talent and being an inspiration to other people. That's the key thing, using your talent and being an inspiration to others. So let's try. My computer takes a little bit of time just to flick the pages in Kindle. The next person, when I read the story, I hadn't heard of this person. It wasn't somebody that I knew about. Here we go. Wilma Rudolph. Wilma Rudolph was a sprinter, okay, but amazingly inspiring. So one of the America's most famous sprinters, but from where she started to actually the finish line was a really difficult journey. So when she was 4 years old, Wilma contracted polio, and there was no cure for polio at the time. And this paralyzed her left leg, and she was forced to wear a metal leg brace. So she couldn't move her left leg at all. And she had to use that leg brace to stop it from collapsing. Wilma was different, and she got teased a lot. She was small. Her sandy coloured hair made her stand out, but she was strong. And she put in lots of hard work. She was determined. She had lots of physical therapy. And by the age of 12, she was walking without her leg brace. And a year later, she was running faster than all the boys and girls in her class. And soon she joined track and field and was winning every event. When she was only 16 years old, she earned her first Olympic medal at the 1956 Games in Melbourne, in Australia. And only a few years before, she'd never heard of the Olympic Games. But now she was determined to win gold. And in Rome in 1960, she became the first American woman to win 3 gold medals in a single Olympics. And when she returned home to Clarksville, Tennessee, there was a parade in her honor. But Wilma found out the organizers had planned a segregated event. Now, that means that white people and black people had to stand separately. They had to be apart. So she refused to take part. She refused to say that I'm going to be on display for all of these people to cheer, but only if people who are the same color as me have to stand somewhere else. So she refused to participate until they agreed to integrate it. Now, as an American icon, Wilma knew that her stance on civil rights could have an impact. She didn't let the fact she was so young stop her. How amazing that one brave voice can make a difference. Wilma later became a teacher and a coach, and in 1981, she started the Wilma Rudolph Foundation to support young athletes. So again, we've got somebody who's taken this amazing talent, and almost the fact that she was disabled as a youngster, she was paralyzed with this illness, is almost secondary. It's another reason why she's amazing. But actually what she's done is she's taken her fame and said, I'm going to use this and I'm going to make a good point. Okay, that's the thing. She's got this talent. What's she going to do with it? She's got this opportunity, and she's been given an amazing chance. She was given an amazing chance to talk about civil rights, to talk about equality, and she took that opportunity and she did something inspirational. And because of that, people looked at her and thought, you know what, wow, that's really, really good. Right, let's find my third person. Not her. Or her? Oh, yes, it was her. Okay, now this is somebody who you may have heard of. Okay, this is Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey. She's a journalist. She's presents TV shows, and from an early age, she got a talent for speaking. She's called the Queen of Daytime TV by some people. And at the age of 3, she was reciting poems to people. And after childhood that had abuse and neglect, during her teens, she moved in with her dad, who encouraged her to read books and to focus on her education. Now, while she was still at school in Nashville, Tennessee, she got a radio job, and then she moved to local TV news, eventually becoming a news presenter. This is while she was still at college, very, very young to be doing this. She hit a rough patch when she was actually demoted. So that means the opposite of a promotion, for getting too emotionally involved in her news stories, but soon found a home in talk shows where her compassion and empathy were an asset, and her dynamic personality was unmistakable. In 1985, she transformed a Chicago area show into the Oprah Winfrey Show, and a year later it was broadcast nationally. And in 1986, she started her own production company, Harpo Productions, and became the first woman of colour in history to own and produce her own TV show. But her career didn't stop at TV. She's produced movies and plays. She's launched a TV network and a magazine. She's written books and created the hugely influential Oprah's Book Club. She's won countless awards and was the first Black female billionaire in the US. And throughout all of that, Oprah consistently uses her influence to help others. Through her various charities, she provides funds for schools, communities, and families in need, vulnerable young people and children all over the world. In 2013, President Barack Obama awarded her the highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Now, despite the hardships of the past, she used her gifts to build a strong career for herself and created a platform for real change in the world. So there we go. We've got 3 incredibly influential women. Now, after that book, I think there's about 100 in that book. It's a really, really cool book. But what's really important, I think, in this one is that each of those people had something that they were amazing at, and they could have just sat there and said, "Yeah, that's it. I'm really good. I'm a really good sprinter. Look at me! Hooray! I'm really good." But actually, they didn't. They still took their gifts and they used it to do something different. They used it to talk about equality, to make sure that people had the same chances, and being equal, having those same chances no matter what colour you are, what gender you identify as, all of those sorts of things are massively important. And people looked at Oprah Winfrey and Nichelle Nichols and Wilma Rudolph and said, yeah, you know, she's really strong, she's really amazing. I'm going to be that inspirational one day. But none of them really knew necessarily what was going on in other people's heads. So Wilma Rudolph said that she would have that parade to celebrate her work, but she didn't know how people were responding to it. Nichelle Nichols was on TV, so she couldn't know what people were thinking of her as a woman of colour on board the Starship Enterprise. But she still went ahead and carried on being a role model. The point is, when people look at you, you don't know what they're thinking about you. So how can you be an inspiration to others? What do you have about you that is inspirational to other people? So it might be your kindness, your empathy, your sense of humour. It might be your determination in a sports game, or your willingness to work hard in your maths lesson. Other people look at you, and you may not feel that you have these skills, but everybody has got something that makes them very, very special and unique. All of your teachers have lots of things, and even if you don't really want to come to school, even if you don't, if you would rather be at home curled up on the sofa, you can look at your teachers and go, do you know what? They're really good at this. This is their real key thing. They're an amazing person for this reason. Okay? But so your teachers are there as role models to you, but you are role models to each other as well. So as you go about your day-to-day, have a think, how am I being a role model? And how am I changing the world? How am I impacting on other people? And what are other people trying to emulate, trying to copy in me? Have a lovely rest of the day, guys. Bye-bye.